Love's Labour's Lost, written and read by Malcolm Cowper. As the coach pulled up outside the Three Golden Cups in Southern Down, 30 eager children scrambled aboard, we boys jostling and elbowing each other to get to the back seats. There we would delight in singing bawdy songs and telling dirty jokes in tones loud enough to embarrass the girls, but just out of hearing range of Miss Davis, the teacher, and Mr. Jones, the vicar. This was the annual Sunday school outing to Barry Island, an event we looked forward to with feverish excitement for weeks beforehand. It followed an unvarying pattern every year. On arrival in Barry, we boys would race to the boating lake. There we would hire boats and proceed to splash each other with the oars. Then we would go to the beach and swim, sunbathe, build sandcastles, or play ball games. In the afternoon, we'd go to the fun fair and be scared witless on the ghost train, laugh hysterically at the grotesquely distorted images in the Hall of Mirrors, and make futile attempts to win prizes in the shooting gallery. The day would be rounded off with jelly and blancmange at Bindle's Cafe. On the way home, it was very rare that at least one child wasn't sick. In 1958, now 12, I was the oldest of the boys and had decided this would be my last Sunday school outing. It was no longer cool, but I had a particular reason for going this year. I had fallen passionately in love with Sheila Jones, the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. Tall, slim and shapely, with well-sculpted cheekbones, full lips and laughing blue eyes, she was the object of every boy's attention. I, tall, gawky and spotty-faced, didn't believe I had the remotest chance of attracting her attention, yet occasional sly glances in my direction in Sunday school, and even the ghost of a smile from her, kept the frail spark of my hopes alive. But this year that spark was fanned into roaring flames as soon as I got onto the bus. Arriving just as the door was about to close, I made my way up the aisle to join the other boys, when, to my astonishment, halfway up sat Sheila, alone. As I approached, she smiled and patted the empty seat next to her. There was no way I could possibly refuse this clear invitation, so in a fluster of panic and embarrassment, I sat down beside her. This prompted an explosion of catcalls and wolf whistles from the boys, and gasps of incredulity from the girls. But Sheila was unfazed. "Just ignore them," she said, patting me on the back of my hand. Her touch sent an electric charge through my body. I have absolutely no recollection of what we said to each other during the journey to Barry. In fact, she did most of the talking. I barely noticed how vapid and superficial a conversation was. I just sat there, tongue-tied, in a haze of disbelief. Was I really sitting next to the most beautiful girl in the world? I'd been aware for some time that a change was gradually happening to me. Girls were beginning to stir up weird, unrecognizable feelings. They were becoming objects of inexplicable attraction. Sex was a word that was starting to figure in our behind-the-bike-shed conversations. We knew very little about it, but were obliged to pretend that we did. It was not a subject we could discuss with our parents, and certainly not our teachers. Sex education on the school curriculum was some years into the future. Some of the boys were starting to go out with girls, and I wondered if there might be a hope of going out with Sheila. Not that I had the faintest idea what going out involved, nor did I dare ask anyone for fear of ridicule. But here I was, with a girl, and I suppose I was now going out with her. I was filled with a mixture of elation and terror. When we arrived at Barry, I shyly asked her if she'd like to go to the lake. I was thrilled when she said yes, she would, and we climbed into a boat. I relished the chance to impress her with my rowing skills, my biceps bulging as I pulled on the oars, while she stared doe-eyed with admiration. Unfortunately, I had overestimated these skills. I gave a mighty heave backwards to get going, but I hadn't dipped the oar in deeply enough. They met little resistance from the water, and I was catapulted backwards, landing in a heap at the bottom of the boat. Sheila tried hard not to laugh, but the effort was too much, and she exploded into a fit of helpless giggles. To make matters worse, the other boys greeted the incident with hoots of derision. Deeply humiliated, I had no choice but to get back on the seat and carry on rowing with as much dignity as I could muster. I was relieved when I'd returned the boat. We made our way to the beach. "Coming for a swim?" I asked, hoping to say yes, so I could lustily admire her body in a bikini. But to my disappointment, she said, "Not just now. I'm going to sunbathe a bit here first." So I raced to the sea and spent a joyful few minutes splashing and diving in the cool water, still relishing my incredible luck. The word snog was another new addition to my vocabulary. I wondered whether I would snog Sheila later on. After a few minutes I returned to the beach, but to my surprise she was nowhere to be seen. Puzzled, I sat for a few minutes, waiting for her to return. When she didn't, I decided I'd better go and look for her. Maybe she wasn't well and had gone back to the coach. As I approached the coach, I met Lindsay Rogers and Faye Russell, Sheila's two closest friends. They looked embarrassed. "Looking for Sheila?" asked Faye. "Yes. Have you seen her?" "Yes, but she's gone with Andrew." "Gone where? Who's Andrew?" "Her ex-boyfriend, only I don't think he's ex anymore. They had a quarrel last week and split up. That's why she was on her own in the bus. But he's turned up. Don't know how he got here. He found her on the beach, and now they've gone off together. Sorry." I was stunned. Suddenly my dream collapsed as the truth hit me like a punch in the stomach. So that's why she'd invited me to sit next to her on the bus, why she'd gone on the boating lake with me, and then to the beach. She couldn't bear to be without a boyfriend by her side, and I just happened to fill the gap. Now I was surplus to requirements. "She said she liked you," said Lindsay lamely. I just stared at her, unable to respond to such a futile attempt at consolation. To add to my misery, along came a group of boys who'd witnessed her departure with the now ex-boyfriend. "What's happened? Has she given you the elbow?" came the tactless question. "She's a right tart, that one," said another. An hour earlier, I would have punched him on the nose. Now, I reluctantly had to agree. "Never mind," said another. "She's not worth it. Come round the fair with us." I spent the rest of the afternoon seething with resentment and humiliation. The fun fair held no pleasures now. The ghost train roused not the slightest flicker of fear. The grotesque reflections in the hall of mirrors evoked barely a smile, and even winning a goldfish on the shooting gallery did nothing to raise my spirits. I was about to refuse it, but decided to take it home as a present for James, my younger brother, who was at home with measles. In bindles, my jelly and blancmange remained untouched until the boy next to me said, "Aren't you eating that?" I shook my head, and he eagerly tucked into it. Well, at least I won't be sick on the way home, I thought. On boarding the coach, I had to walk past Sheila and Andrew in each other's arms. She looked away, but he glared at me with malevolent eyes that said, "Don't even think of making any trouble." I could see why she was attracted to him. He was well built, good-looking, fashionably dressed, everything I wasn't. All the way home I sat miserably nursing my goldfish and vowed never to have anything to do with girls again, ever. It was a vow I would break and remake many times as I negotiated the turbulent waters of adolescence.